Apologies for interruption. Y'all are good.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kelsey Lewis. I'm a junior architecture major, and the platform I'm running is Built to Scale. Built to Scale is a promise to all CEA students promoting accessibility, resources, collaboration, and unity.
Hi, everyone. My name is Natalia Natal. I'm a sophomore mechanical engineering major from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and I'm currently running under the campaign Blueprint to Build a Better Senator, because without proper planning, there is no progress. Under my platform Build, I want to bridge the gaps between the majors in CEA, unify student leaders with the students, invest in resources, lead with integrity, and design an accessible Senate and for our students in CEA. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Vivian Hill. I am a junior electronics studio major from Gary, Indiana, and my platform is called Are You Sick? S standing for Spotlight, I for Investment, and C for Community, K for Knowledge. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Trinity Wright. I am a sophomore health science major, chemistry and biology double minor from Kansas City, Missouri, and I'm running to be your next CNAHS senator under my campaign, The Right Prescription for Progress. My campaign consists of 6 pillars: wellness, resources, inclusion, generosity, expanding horizons, and transparency. I want to ensure that Howard students have the tools to not only survive at Howard, but thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, candidates. We'll now move on to our moderated question portion. In what ways will you ensure that your advocacy stays consistent throughout the full term, and how will it differ from your other candidates? We'll start on the other side.
This side? Oh, sorry. So as a Senate intern last year, I had the pleasure of serving under the Lavender Committee, in which I was able to establish and share the Lavender Committee survey, in which we would have the opportunity to learn from students and get their feedback and actively engage with them. So I hope to expand that survey this year, as well as adding new questions to the student advocacy survey within the Senate.
As a COFA student, I've noticed that a lot of the things that we go through can sometimes be caused by a disorganization within our college. In order to stay consistent with the things that we want to get done, I will be bringing a lot of organization to our school, along with utilizing our HU Fine Arts Council, who has also already done a lot of work in the progression of COFA. Thank you.
Can you ask that question again, please?
In what ways will you ensure that your advocacy stays consistent throughout the full term, and how will it differ from your other candidates?
Thank you. When it comes to advocacy and also when referencing the full term, I definitely think it's really important. Like, the basis is just showing up. And so a lot of times when it comes to student leadership, the only time you see these student leaders is during campaign season. And I think that's a really big problem. When we think about student leadership, it's after the campaigns, after these bills are passed. How are you actually going to enact them? And so ultimately, I really think it's just going out there and showing your face, whether that's going to, CEA organization events, whether that's going to actual Senate events. I think honestly, all of us up here, if we are candidates for, the Senate, we should be actively going to these Senate meetings. And I've been actively going to these Senate meetings since they first started, once we got on campus. And I think that's how that differs me from my opponents. It's actually showing up. Thank you.
I think when it comes to being consistent in advocacy, constantly reaching out to people within your college, and that doesn't mean like specific majors, but all majors. So that's something that definitely differs me from my opponent, is reaching out to everybody within the college, such as the engineering, architecture, and computer science majors. So always making sure, reaching out to people or hosting events where people can express their concerns so you can advocate for them. Thank you.
Can I rebuttal, or it's not at this time?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I was gonna no, you're fine.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, after somebody gives their response, if you raise your hand, up to 2 people can rebuttal.
Okay.
So after they give their response, if you had just given your response, everybody else has the opportunity to rebuttal if need be. So you're more than fine.
Okay. Thank you. I really like that point. I definitely think it's really important to reach your entire school, especially in CEA, because we do have 2 buildings, which is an architecture building and then another building that holds the engineering students and the computer science students. And so I really want to be transparent and be really upfront when it comes to the language. And so I definitely have had a privilege of talking to both architecture students and engineering students and voice their concerns. I actually held an event in front of Mackey where I got to hand out Ritas, and that was a great moment for me to really be, one-on-one and peer-to-peer with students, because I feel a lot of times when you're running for these campaigns, you're trying to get some incentive out of it. But because that's not my major, especially architecture, I really wanted to hear the perspective from those students, and it was a really good event. Thank you so much.
In order to ensure that my advocacy stays consistent throughout my term, one of the things that I want to do, as stated before, is make sure that I'm remaining central for my constituents, so that people can access me whenever they need, and it never feels like I'm too out of reach for them to address their concerns or for them to be heard. But beyond that, I feel like advocacy extends beyond the walls of Howard. I feel that we need to work with other partnerships, gain other partnerships with people outside of CNAHS, so that the things that we want to be passed are being funded or being supported, and that we have more people that are pouring into the students of Howard, including different perspectives. So, thank you.
I think my big thing would be being communicative and visible. I know recently I had a freshman come up to me asking how I was aware of these opportunities, because she wasn't aware. SOE is really small and tight-knit, so most of the people in my year are in my classes, so I would just be communicative through that. A lot of them stay in minor all the time because we have all the same classes. Just big on communication and relaying information.
The next question will be, if you had to pick one issue that affects Howard students the most, whether it's housing, graduation, mental health, or something else, what would it be, and why should we trust you specifically to tackle it? We'll start on this side.
A problem that I would choose to tackle would probably be mental health. It's included in my Rooted campaign, as mental health is a big issue among students overall, and in teachers specifically, as teaching is a draining career, and a lot of us experience burnout. I know I looked through the legislative catalog, and one of them was the mental milestone survey, which I haven't seen visible on campus, but that I feel like we could also add onto. We have a survey, but we're not doing things to help. We don't have therapy. I know other schools offer therapy, but I think mental health is something that's big to touch on.
Thank you for that question. I would also say that mental health is a big issue for the students of CNAHS. As we are pre-health majors, we have one of the highest rates of burnout within different schools. And I feel like on top of our busy course loads, it's also hard to add something else on top of that. So along with adding certain workshops in there, I feel like there needs to be more I feel like we need to add in more pieces of more access to mental health that doesn't require as much hassle. So it's something that's easier, like something you can do on your phone, different journaling and wellness prompts that people can do on their own, so that it's not always something that has to feel like a hassle to tackle. Yeah.
I will also say mental health is a big issue, especially in the College of Engineering and Architecture. These three majors can be very time-consuming and overloading, especially in your first couple years. So a lot of people may drop out of the program because they feel like it's too much for them to handle, and it takes a big effect on their mental health. And I was actually talking to someone about this earlier, but providing therapy for these students, and even if it's not in the form of directly talking to somebody, but using your career path as therapy for yourself. So for architecture majors example, I love making models, building stuff. So using that as a therapeutic output instead of it always being constant coursework and overload.
Thank you for that question. A really important issue I see is the housing crisis on campus, especially in CEA, because as you guys know, if you don't know, CEA has a really large population of international students. And so a real correlation to the work that I've actually been doing is as an interim senator for Houston Senate currently, I'm in the student advocacy committee. And so in that, it's allowed me to work on a winter housing survey for students and to gauge the number of students who need housing on campus during that winter time. And that's a great correlation to CEA because we do have a large population of international students. And so I think it's really important. I really jumped on this opportunity because, you know, if you have to go back to the Caribbean, if you have to go back to Africa, that's really expensive and you have to pay housing on top of that. And so I really wanted to gauge and, you know, work on this project because it's truly important. We have to see how many students, you know, need these resources and what the Senate can actually do to give those resources to the students. Thank you so much.
I believe one of the biggest issues Howard holds is the financial issue and everything that falls under that. Not all students come from backgrounds where they're privileged enough to spend a great amount of money on materials needed for school supplies. I personally know that I've most likely spent over $2,000 on school supplies, being an art major, along with the rise in tariffs and just prices, groceries, all of that has been rising this past year. So I've been hearing a lot of complaints, specifically in COFA, from students not being able to buy the material needed for their coursework. So with me being a going back to my platform, I being for investment, I would like to put together scholarship programs and come up with fun ways of running fundraisers for students to be able to access material. Thank you.
Yeah, similar to what you two just said, I would say that one of the biggest issues that Howard has is that students don't have the correct accessibility to the resources that they need to be successful. So as a Senate intern last year, I was able to help write legislation for the Access to Success Act, which allowed over 50 plus Howard students to have free LSAT, GRE, and MCAT prep books that helped them financially with not having to have that burden, but also giving them the right resources to be successful within their major. So I hope to, as a future senator, be able to expand that and make sure that's not just a one-time thing, but make sure that's a reoccurring thing, and also that students can build those connections also within that legislation.
Thank you. The next question will be, how will you make sure that you're representing the more reserved students who are stressed, checked out, or working multiple jobs, who might not be speaking up about their issues?
Yeah, so I think it's kind of meeting students where they are. So at least, you know, for students that are more reserved, they may not be able to come out specifically in person-to-person interaction, but maybe creating an online forum in which they can express their concerns, have someone that they can vent to, and reach out to the Senate for anything they may possibly need.
Going off of what was just said, I do believe that online platforms give a place for everybody to speak and share their thoughts. I also believe that being a personable face for senator is a big part in that as well. I feel like there's always the loudest people in the room, but making sure that you're speaking to those who may not be as loud and may not be as flashy as others is just as important, so that they know that you are a safe space to come and speak to about any issue that they may have. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. I definitely think when, you know, acknowledging the reserve students on campus, it really is about showing up and meeting people where they're at, like it was said before. But I also think like destigmatizing kind of like how people perceive Senate. And so I know when you have to represent the Senate, you have to be in business professional. And so that can be really like, you know, nerve-wracking for students to even want to come up to you. And so I really think, you know, just opening up like forums for students where you can even just link them in your Instagram bio so students know who you are, know your face, and also, you know, emailing lists. I think also referencing, you know, Senate and, you know, utilizing the fact that, you know, we are representing, at least for CEA, kind of a smaller but larger school. So really utilizing the organizations on campus to really push out the Senate so people know our faces. Also showing up, you know, when students don't really feel reluctant to coming out and, you know, coming to these organizational things when it comes to work, when it comes to these things. So also just reaching the student's inbox, you know, in their Outlook can definitely give them the platform to speak their mind. Thank you.
When it comes to communicating and advocating for students who are more reserved, I would definitely go more of not like face-to-face, because a lot of people can be very intimidated when it comes to that, but more of an online presence or social media events, you know, events where people can meet you and get to know you as a person, but not necessarily, I mean, yes, it's important to do face-to-face, but a lot of people are intimidated when it comes to, you know, getting to know them through other ways first. So then you can host events where people will be more, you know, communicative and sociable for the students who are reserved.
Kind of going off of everything that was said, I do feel like online feedback forums would help to ensure that all of the population is being heard, and that regardless of like fears or pressure that may like that. But I also think that awareness is also a big issue. Making sure that people building a track record with your constituents. I feel like making sure that people have a trustworthy relationship with you. They know that you stand on your word and that you will get things done for them, which will help kind of create more genuine relationships with people in CNAHS, as well as that partnering with like different clubs and stuff on campus, because everyone has different niches that they like. And I feel like as CNAHS, to be able to reach all different demographics of students, we have to partner with different clubs and different things that the school is offering so that we can reach those students.
Similar to what I said earlier, I think it's important to be communicative and to show a friendly face. I think a hello goes a long way. And as I said earlier, also, SOE is tiny. We have a small school, so we usually know everyone that we see and see them in every class on a daily basis. So just saying hey and being someone that they feel like they can come to.
Thank you, candidates. This will be our last question. What's one achievable goal you can commit to delivering within your first semester if elected? And how does that goal differ from your fellow candidates?
I think an achievable goal that I could try to achieve would be to set up more events in the School of Education. I know although we do have classes together, outside of that, I mean, those are kind of stiff. So outside of that, being able to know the people that you're in class with for the next 4, 3, 2, however many years. I want to have study sessions. As an elementary education major, you have to take a test called Praxis after each year, which study sessions would help to collaborate with other people. So just having events to gather everyone and get stuff done at the same time.
I think one achievable goal that I can instate within my term as a senator is actually peer mentoring. To do this, I've already kind of written out a bill called the Peer Mentorship Act of 2025. And in this, it is pairing underclassmen students with upperclassmen students of CNAHS so that they can guide them, serve as guidance for them through academically and socially throughout their year of getting comfortable in Howard, and how this differs from both of my other candidates. We all have mentorship programs. Is that mine is more focused on the retention of the program, rather than just instating the program to say we have a mentorship program. I want to focus on making sure that there is measurable outcomes. So, is it working? Are students liking it? How have we seen growth with this program? So that it's not like so that it's us using our resources properly as senators. So yeah. Thank you.
Can I rebuttal that? I would just like to say that the infrastructure for mentorships already exists, and that within the CNAHS Council that we currently have already has that in the works. So of course, Senate can also collaborate with CNAHS Council to ensure that we're achieving those new goals, but we don't need to necessarily reinvent the wheel, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, I'll rebuttal back to that. Yes. In terms of working with that, I feel like with this peer mentorship program, there needs to be more awareness surrounding it. With students, that there needs to be more of, in terms of not necessarily reinventing it, but with this bill, there needs to be more awareness so that students know that this is available for them, because a lot of freshmen and sophomore students don't even know that there's a peer mentorship program being put into place. And yes, I can work with like other councils to ensure that this is being handled, but yeah.
Okay, so an achievable goal that I have is to set up an alumni competition or a project where alumni would host projects/competitions for CEA majors. It would consist of a team, one person from each major, where they would work on a real-world project to also get the chance to collaborate with each other and get a feel of what other people will contribute to the careers and the projects. Because outside Howard, we all work together in projects, but here at Howard, we don't see much of each other. So I think it's important people get the experience of what it's like to work with other majors and what other majors will bring to the team. And I have actually been in the works with some alumni and other people that would help sponsor these competitions.
This is just a general question to you, but I just was wondering, is that going to be actual legislation or is that just regular programming?
It would be regular programming, but it could also fall through legislation looking for more funding for the competitions and the projects through the Senate.
And then could you ask that question one more time?
What's one achievable goal you can commit to delivering within your first semester if elected, and how will that differ from your fellow candidates?
Absolutely. So when thinking of actual things that I want to enact with the first semester is definitely some town halls. I know because CEA has a lot of majors, it's kind of hard to gauge like what students need what. And so I think that'll be a perfect platform to really see what the students of CEA need at that time. And also in my platform, when I talk about investing in resources, I really want to push a bill for the Fundamentals of Engineering Book Act, where we can get organizations like ACE. Even while I was campaigning, people were like, yeah, we get our books from, this organization, and they're allowed to, give us that. So working with outside ties that don't have to necessarily dip into Senate money, I would love to, get that started from the ground running once I get elected. Thank you.
An achievable goal I believe I will be able to attain this semester is making COFA fun again. I believe creativity runs off of fun. I mean, in a business, if your workers aren't happy and they're not enjoying their time, then their performance will not be very well. I believe we all saw movies growing up of how college fundraising and events should be and how fun it looked. And I want to kind of implement that into our COFA students' lives. Making fundraising more entertaining so that students will actually feel the need to come out and support each other within COFA, and this falls under the C in my platform for community. Thank you.
Yeah, so under my first semester as a senator, I want to pass the Access to Sex Act Part 2, in which we go beyond just helping pre-law or pre-med students. So I hope to establish an online survey in which I can gain access to students and see what they need specifically for their major just beyond those law track or the pre-law and the pre-med track, and then ensuring that we can possibly provide resources for them through the Senate budget.
This now concludes the moderated question portion of tonight's event. The audience will now have an opportunity to pose questions to the candidates. Audience members, your questions can be either general or pivoted towards a specific candidate or platform. Again, candidates, you will have 1 minute to respond to each question and will be allowed a 30-second rebuttal. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Hi, my name is Noah. I'm an architecture major. I'm just curious in terms of specifically for CA candidates, with Mackey being in one place and Elkin in another. I believe a town hall was mentioned. I'm just wondering how would you, gather people from both buildings into one area, and how would you improve outreach between each major or each distinct majors for both of you guys?
Sure. You want to go first? Sure. Okay, I'll go first. Thank you so much for that question. Definitely, I think what has to happen when getting outreach and also just civic engagement in the first place, I feel like CA kind of has a hard time with that. And so I think honestly, utilizing the relationships that, the Senate has, and also, depending on who your senator might be, the relationships that they do have with those respective councils and organizations can really utilize outreach for students. So that's across NESB, that's SOE, that's, ASCE, other organizations like architecture organizations. I really think pushing that out to the respective organizations on campus that cater to those certain majors. If we have hey guys, HUSA CEA senators are doing this, I think we also can utilize the different backgrounds that each of the senators, because CEA does have 4 senators, and the resources that they have can really get the students outreach. And I think specifically when it comes to town halls, I personally would want to cater them more in Mackey because, I think, especially because you guys have really long studio hours, maybe even just giving you guys the time to just pop out and just pop in, ask your questions, and then go back up to the studio would really utilize, that, reluctantness to coming to LKD. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. So rather than hosting a professional town hall, it would be more like collaborative events. So it would, publicize that to more people, so more people would come. We would still be talking about, the necessary things that would be talked about, but it's not about like the place you have it, but more about like how you, put it out to people. And always, food always gets people places. So it doesn't matter like your major or, your classification, all that. And it doesn't really matter where you have it, but you're more of like how you publicize it is very important as to who comes. So I think publicizing it in ways where all three majors in CEA would show up is important, especially going through, like Natalia said, their councils or the organizations, but also like the CEA council. There's architecture and engineering majors on the CEA council. So, going to them for reach as to how to publicize it in ways that all three majors would attend.
I'm not rebuttaling, but I would just like to add to the question. So I may not be a CA student, but CNAHS kind of has a similar issue. We have all of our underclassmen on main campus, and then we have our other CNAHS building that's on Capitol Street, which is 20 minutes away. So we also kind of have that issue of how can we bring all of our constituents together, especially within like a town hall kind of form. And we definitely had that issue in Senate last year with getting student engagement, because students are very busy people and they can't always meet somewhere on main campus. So I think one of my ways that I want to solve that issue is possibly having online town halls. That way people can be a little bit more flexible with their schedule, as well as hosting pop-ups within the CNAHS building. So CNAHS students who are upperclassmen can also see my face and let me know their concerns.
We have time for one more question.
As candidates, can we ask questions or no? Like
It's only
to,
reserved for rebuttals. So
Okay.
for right now, it will just be audience questions. And is there any audience questions? Okay, then we can go ahead and ask.
Yes, I have one. Hi, I'm Ebony Williams. I'm from Dallas, Texas. I'm a junior architecture major. And my question is for you, Natalia, if you mind answering. You mentioned the initiative to buy books for engineering majors. How would you then translate that to other majors like architecture? Or do you have a plan to translate that? Or would it just be for engineering majors? And also, yes, that's it.
do you want to do a two-part or
Just do one question.
Okay. Thank you for actually bringing that up. I think honestly, when it came to my platform, I really wanted to do something that was very realistic. And so I know a lot of the times, even when it comes to campaigns across the board, people will have a bunch of wishes that they're going to give to their students. And then once they get into office, they realize, oh, wait, I can't do these things. And then now people are waiting for me to do these things and I can't do them. And so I really wanted to be transparent with the student body. And I wanted to start off with a bill that specifically caters to, one aspect, and I really want to build off of that, because as I was talking to architecture majors, like they were telling me that you guys pay a lot out of pocket when it comes to different resources. And so I would really want to expand on that and even work with, our chair in Senate, that's the University and External Affairs, to work with different organizations to be able to fund those resources into Senate without it having to necessarily come from the Senate budget. And I feel like people are always willing to give materials and, give money and funding out to students. But first, I just wanted to start with a bill that I could, actually kind of gauge and get some type of research on. And then I really would want to expand that to other majors as well. Thank you.
Okay. So I think as an architecture major specifically, I wouldn't say it's unrealistic to fight for supplies for architecture majors, and it doesn't even have to be all architecture majors, but specifically the first year students. The first year they come in, they're building models by hand, they don't have access to online programs, and all the materials they have to pay for out of pocket. And it's not necessarily an overwhelming amount of cost, but it is enough where I think if we were to go to the Senate budget or other funds, that would be a realistic way to help those students. So to say that getting supplies for engineering students is more realistic than architecture students, I don't think that's fair, especially when you're catering to the whole CEA as a whole.
Just a rebuttal, sorry if you misconstrued my words. I wasn't saying that just solely for engineering students, it's like necessary, and worrying about other like sources in CEA like computer science and architecture isn't as important. I think just when, you know, we need to be really important when using our verbiage of things that we actually want to enact on campus, and especially in Senate. Anyone can get a bill passed in Senate, but it's really about the things and like how you're actually going to execute those things. And so actually, this goes into my next question for you specifically, Kelsey, that, you know, you don't have a lot of experience in student government on campus. And so my question to you is kind of like, how are you say a lot of things in your platform, but how are you actually going to execute those things if you were a senator? Will you say that?
Yeah, you have 30 seconds. We're kind of tight on time, but you have 30
Okay, I would execute these plans by working with other councils. Even though I am running for Senate, not everything has to be Senate related specifically. So looking to the CEA council, but also, you know, outside resources and sponsors to help bring in for CEA. So yes, I am running for Senate, but not all my initiatives are Senate specific.
That's all the time we have for today. Can we give our candidates a round of applause? Before we call up the UGSA representatives, we're gonna have everyone move to 212.
Yes, thank you. Good job. Good luck.
For the people